The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Thank you, Tally Olson. I am back. You are comfortably zoned with me, the Zig Zag Man, in Alameda, California, right across the bay from San Francisco, across the moat from Oakland, in the northern part of the second or third greatest state in the Union, depending on who you ask. I'll ask you, Jerry Feitelberg, my guest. You're from Boston. How do you compare living in Boston with living in California?
Well, I love California. I love the variety of things that you have in California. You have the beach, you have the desert, you have the mountains, you have Northern California, San Diego. There's just so many things to do in this state. You're close to Las Vegas, Reno, Tahoe. There's just tons of things. But at the same time, I miss Boston at times. I love Boston.
Okay, you're like me with New York. You'd rather be here, but your heart is partially back there.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
and
keep it that way.
And up until last week, I thought we had the best of the world living in Alameda. But after what happened last week with the police in Alameda, we have not only a scandal, a local scandal, it's national. It's made national news with the police killing an unarmed man with a knee to his back, and it's really sad. I never expected that to ever happen in Alameda.
I did, because the police department here has a reputation of being roided up, and like most police stations, policemen, the police mentality is what it is. It's coming out. But I co-mentored a foster child, Christopher Foster, ironically, in the 90s, and his interaction as a black child with the police department was absolutely, I have tales to tell about that, outrageous. The prejudice in the school, not just the police, in the school system, makes it very difficult. And this is now coming to light nationally in terms of police brutality, this, that, and the other thing. But it's been normal. It's been the way it is since Serpico. The cops are what the cops are. Remember what they were. The police was put into being for what reason? You know, Jerry. Originally.
Yeah.
Why did...
But at the same time, and when I had the store in Alameda, the Alameda Police Department was very good to me if there was a problem. One night we had these two young men rampaging up on Park Street. I had a little window box out in front of the store, which they broke. And on their way back, after terrorizing the little old ladies on Park Street, and I confronted them. I said, "Are you going to pay me to repair that?" I was attacked by them. And someone had called the police, and the police came, and these guys, I don't know what they were on. They were jumping on cars in the middle of Park Street, but the police took them down and took them into custody for drunken, disorderly behavior and assault and whatever else that they had. And when I went to the emergency room to have them take a look and see what happened, they said, "We can't see you." It was funny. One of my irregulars, one of the Park Street irregulars that came into the store all the time, he had been shot, and they were treating him for a gunshot wound that night.
Whoa!
Strange things happened on Park Street.
Absolutely. But yes, this is a tragic case, and we never thought it would Alameda is a little hamlet. It's a town in Northern California that was originally a place, a resort town, where people in San Francisco, what with the cold weather, can cross the bay and have the weather go up by 10, 15 degrees and have sunshine. And it was a beautiful little conservative hamlet. Now, being conservative, you get what comes with the conservative attitude. And I don't know if you can tell me we're in 2021, where if a kid or an adult is drunk in the park, they don't have the resources to call a mental health person to come out there and have the ability to talk them down, and you have to have a cop with a gun? What's the purpose of it? I don't understand. How was this guy brought down? Was he handcuffed?
Apparently, from what I saw on TV, they were attempting to handcuff him. They had one hand behind the back, and I don't know if they could get the other hand back, or I don't know how they got him on the ground. Why they put their knees on his neck or his back, as the case may be. It seemed to me what they did was just totally uncalled for. And you're right. They could have just said, let's get someone over here to help them. There must have been someone, some mental health person that could have come over and diffused the situation. But now it's too late, and we just have to live with the consequences. And it's really a sad situation. I feel bad for our town.
Well, the consequences that people have come to understand behind all this is the financial ramifications that come with it when these victims sue the city. These people are going to get Pardon me?
I didn't say anything.
Oh, I got feedback there. Electronics are wonderful. Anyway, it is tragic, and it's a blight against humanity. You could almost understand this happening, not understand it, but accept it a little more if it happens in the South. You expect a certain amount of craziness. It goes with the territory. But this is crazy. What's happening all over the country is nuts. And the only thing we can do before the segue into talking about the Giants and the A's and their remarkable start is to say this: it's not just here. That's when I think about it. It's not just Alameda. That's my only consolation. Otherwise,
it happens everywhere. It happens everywhere. It happens all over the country, which is they're talking about systemic racism, and this is one of the problems that happens in all police departments all over the country. The thing is, the police are trained. If you're going to get arrested, you better not resist arrest, because it could turn ugly for you. The most important, but some of the times they don't do anything. The perps don't do anything, and they still get taken down and beaten up, and in so many instances killed. And the amount of people of color that are getting killed is much higher than the number of white people who were taken into custody.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little ball and cheer ourselves up.
There we go.
Start with the Giants. I've been following them on the radio a little bit. What amazes me about them? Their core team has been together about 5 years now. Brandon Crawford, Bell, the third baseman they got from Tampa, Longoria. who looked to be washed up a couple of 3 years ago, they've gotten a nice little career out of him in San Francisco. And Posey, I wanna say how this is a future Hall of Famer. What with those three, not consecutive, but 3 world championships within 5 years, he is the catcher. People have been talking on Facebook. I think he belongs in the Hall of Fame eventually.
Yeah, he's got a Rookie of the Year. He's an MVP player. Now, he's probably going, if he continues to play well, he'll be the comeback player of the year. He's got 5 home runs so far. I think in 2019, that's all he hit was 519, but he had that hip problem. He had the surgery, and he didn't play last year. And so, the catchers get beat up because of the bending during all the games and all the foul balls that hit off of them. Their hands get beat up. Their legs get beat up. So he rested for a year, and it looks like he's regained his strength and he's regained his form, and he's going to be a force for the Giants. The other key to the Giants has been their outstanding pitching. I have become Facebook friends with Gabe Kapler, and he posted something the other night when the team beat, I don't know who they beat, but they won 12-0. His guys were hitting, and they put the runs on the board. They've been getting a great play from Belt, Crawford, Longoria, Posey, Mike Yastrzemski, Dickerson. You name it, those guys can put the ball out of the park. And, they made a change. They made a change in right field last year because of the pandemic. They had at the Oracle Park, they had a gate that was open, and apparently the wind was coming in, and it was affecting the balls hit to right field. They closed it up last year, and you know what? The balls started flying out of the park. So I think they kept it closed this year, and it's helping the Giants hitters quite a bit.
Well, I just wanted to touch. You mentioned Kapler. That looked to be a questionable decision to hire him, and it seems to be working out well. That he had no giant roots. He had to connect with the assistant general manager, and sure enough, it's working out.
Yeah, he had a rough time in Philadelphia. I think they had 2 seasons where they just barely played 500 ball, and the expectations were high. And he did some things a little bit differently there. And Philadelphia, if you don't win, the Boo Birds are out there, the critics are out there, so they ran him out of town. And he was hired last year by the Giants to succeed Bruce Bochy. And the proof of the pudding is in the eating. And so far, he's been doing a super job managing the team. He's been pushing the right buttons. So, and it helps that his pitching staff is much better than it was last year.
I wonder how Bochy is adjusting. What a great guy he is. I met him when I was the Topps rep. He was managing an A team in San Diego for the San Diego Padres, an entrance level A team back in the day. And he is just a great people guy. He's missed by the Giants fans. He and Righetti both. How is he adjusting to retirement? Has anybody written anything about that?
I haven't heard anything. I think he's open to coming back if there's a right opportunity. But I think he's in his 60s. He's had some heart problems. He's probably enjoying himself. He may never manage again, but he's going to be in baseball's Hall of Fame. Anytime you manage a team to 3 World Series titles, and he went to the World Series with the Padres, so you don't get managers that go to the World Series 4 times and win 3 of them. So he's a Hall of Famer. And
good.
And I'm sure he's going to go and wear the Giants cap as the Giants manager because that's where he got most of his wins. But I never really got a chance to talk to him when I was the few games that I was doing for sports radio service with the on the Giants, because they getting a credential to go to the Giants games, where I think we have 2 or 3 credentials, and they didn't want to give someone else a 4th credential. Although when the A's play, I was credentialed for those games with the Giants. But I never. I've been in the. I've seen him in the dugout. I don't recall if I was in the clubhouse when he did some of his pressers with the media, but I just know he was the players loved him. He was a good manager. He really is one of the best. Yes.
Speaking of good managers for the A's back in the day, Tony La Russa has taken over as the White Sox manager.
Yep.
Any feedback from you on that? Were you happy to see that?
Tony is in the Hall of Fame. He's a Hall of Fame manager. His first managerial job was managing the White Sox, and in '86 they fired him, and the A's had Jackie Moore as their manager. They let Moore go, and they hired Tony La Russa. And as you know, he took to the club to 3 straight World Series. They won 1, and they lost 2 of them. And the A's haven't been in the World Series since 1990. What's that? 30. This will be 31 years since they've been into the World Series. So,
wow.
Tony had a philosophy. He was with the A's for 10 years, and he was with them up through the 1995 season. In 1995, Walter Haas passed away. The team that he had been pretty much broken up, and they were on the downside. And Tony didn't want to rebuild it. And they had new owners, and he had an opportunity to go to St. Louis, and he went to St. Louis. And he won a couple of World Series with the Cardinals. He won in 2006 and 2011. So,
with Mark McGwire, another Oakland A.
Well, Mark. Tony left after the '95 series. Eckersley went to St. Louis for a year or 2 and finished up in Boston. And Mark McGwire got traded to the Cardinals in '97. And probably the reason that he went to St. Louis was because Tony was the manager. And McGwire had several great years in St. Louis.
Yeah, turned into a pretty good team that with McGwire at first base.
Right now, you're asking about La Russa. La Russa has a pretty good team in the White Sox. I think they're above 500 right now, but that's early in the season. Tony knows the game. He understands the game. I don't know if Dave Duncan is with him. I don't think Dave is his pitching coach. I think they have someone else as a pitching coach. But there's no reason to think why. Tony has a very good chance of taking the team to the playoffs. If you recall last year, the White Sox played the A's in the first round, and it was a tough series. And they got some players on that club, especially they got Tim Anderson had a terrific series against the A's. Jose Abreu, Yoan Moncada. I can't remember all the players, of course. So. And their outfield is loaded. They have this guy Luis Robert, and one of their budding stars, Jimenez, is injured and out for the season. But they should do okay. It depends again. And they got Liam Hendricks to be their closer, the former A's closer. And the White Sox will be in it all the way to the end. I would be shocked if they don't make the playoffs.
Okay. What do you attribute the A's having such a great year? in 2021.
So far, so good. It didn't start off that way. Now, Bob Melvin, who became the A's manager midway through the 2011 season, has had great success with the team. I think he's been to the playoffs 6 times in the 10 years that he's been with the club. The club started off 0-6. The pitching wasn't there to start the season, but they regrouped. They went on a 13-game winning streak. They lost the final game of their 3-game series with Baltimore. And then they had to face the Tampa Bay Rays for 4 games. And as you know, the Rays are a very good team. They're the defending American League champions. They've got some hitters in their lineup, guys like Kevin Kiermaier, Austin Meadows, Yandy Diaz, Randy Arozarena, who came out of relatively nowhere last year, set a record for most home runs in the playoffs with 10. They won the American League championship last year. They beat the Houston Astros in 7 games to go to the World Series, and they fell to the Dodgers in 6. And they lost 2 of their starting pitchers. Charlie Morton went to the Braves in free agency, and then they traded Blake Snell, who was a Cy Young Award winner, to the Padres. But nonetheless, they had Rich Hill pitch beautifully against the A's. He lost, 2-1. They beat the A's 4-3. Last night, Tyler Glasnow, the right-hander that the Rays got in the trade with the Pittsburgh Pirates for Chris Archer a couple of years ago, they got Tyler Glasnow and Austin Meadows in the trade. How's that for hijacking 2 stars for nothing? Archer did so little with the Pirates, and then they released him, and the Rays picked up Archer, and unfortunately he's on the IL right now. So, but their bullpen is deep. They got some great relievers, and the A's split the season, the 4-game series. They won today by a score of 3-2. But the games are all close. The first game was 2-1. The second game, the Rays won 4-3. They beat the A's yesterday 2-0, and today the A's won 3-2. The teams in the 4 games, the Rays scored 9 runs in 4 games, and the A's scored 8 runs. The pitching was so superb. Both bullpens were excellent, and both starting pitching was excellent. Today, Chris Bassett won 6 innings. Yesterday, Frankie Montas won 6 innings, but I think Montas only gave up 2 runs, but lost the game. So he lost 2-0. So that happens. Today, Bassett won 6 innings, gave up 2 runs. He didn't get the win, but the A's are in it. So their pitching's been much better than the first 8 games of the season, but they're doing well. They know that they can go out well. Their bullpen again today was excellent. Yusmeiro Petit and Jake Diekman pitched the 7th and 8th innings, set the team down, and set the team down in order in both the 7th and 8th innings. Trevino came in and pitched the 9th inning, gave up a single, but got the final out. So the bullpen's doing. Trevino has 4 saves so far this year, so he's pitching well. So they're playing with confidence. They know they can go out there. Chapman had a home run and a triple in the game. He drove in 2 of the 3 A's runs and helped propel them to the win. So they're coming around. What happened today, though, was that their big first baseman, left-hand hitter, Matt Olson, had a freak accident in the batting cage during batting practice. A ball came up, bounced up, and hit him. You know how you hit a foul ball and it sometimes hits your ankle? Well, apparently he hit the ball, went into the ground, bounced back, and hit him in the left eye, and his eye was swollen. So we don't know how long he's going to be out. Fortunately, there was no fractures or in the eye socket,
You know, you said that, and I immediately flashed on Tony Canigliaro when you said his eye was swollen, and I guess the reason he was a Red Sox, and that was tragic, and not only was it tragic for him, as it turned out, his brother died early as well. Both. Was that the Canigliaros, or there was a family? Yeah, his brother played big league ball, and tragically died.
I think Billy just passed away a short time ago.
Yeah,
Tony was 45 when he died. If you recall, he got hit by a pitch. I think it was either Jack Hamilton or Jack Fisher, one of those guys. He hit a pit. He got hit with a pitch right in the eye in 1967, and he did come back. He played for the Angels in 1970. Did okay, but he was never the same. And he was a rising star. He had everything. Handsome guy, tall, handsome. The young ladies loved him. He became a sports broadcaster, and he was on local TV here in San Francisco as a broadcaster. And he was in Boston, and he either had a stroke or a heart attack while driving through the Sumner Tunnel from the airport into Boston, and then the oxygen to his brain was cut off. And so he was in a coma until he died for many, many years.
Wow.
Very sad. Very sad.
Lesson to all of us: appreciate what we have today. Hug your family, and there's no guarantee.
No, there are no guarantees. While we're talking about health, I loved your post yesterday on Facebook that you got your first shot.
I did, and what I was holding out for the J&J, but that didn't materialize, and I had to say, live up to my deal. If I could get it within walking distance, not have to get on a bus or anything, I would. And Walgreens right here on Webster Street in Alameda has, you just have to call a toll-free number to set up an appointment. I got my first shot. Absolutely no side effects. And the needle itself, I couldn't even feel the shot, barely feel the shot. So I can't stress enough how I feel knowing that although I'm not 100% protected by the first shot, I'm still a little bit protected. I'll keep wearing the mask. In 2 weeks, I'll go back for the second shot. And 2 weeks after that, I'm set to go. You and I, Nathan's Restaurant on Webster, we're there. You've had yours. You're totally inoculated. Am I correct?
Oh yeah. I got my first one in February, and I got the second one on March 3rd. So it's been a while. And today when we went out to see Isla's doctor, and when we got to the office, we put the mask on. The doctor had his mask on, and everyone had their shots. But you just get so used to wearing it when you're outside. It's just something that you do, and I don't even think twice about it. It's not a big deal. I to this day, I do not understand people who think that wearing a mask is somehow imposing upon their freedom. I don't understand their psyche one iota. I don't understand it. It's a cheap price to pay. It's such a small price to pay to protect other people should you have the virus and you won't spread it. There was a great video put out. I don't know who put it out, but Dr. Fauci was on it. And they showed people speaking without a mask, just counting the numbers to 1, 2, 3, 4. And when you see the number 4, you can see they had the film. You could see the molecules coming out of the mouth going for about 6 inches in front of your face. You can't see it when you're talking, but with this equipment, you could show you how, if you're close to someone and you say 4, they could breathe in the particles that you've just breathed out. And if the virus is in there, that's how they would become affected to it. And that's what happened with a lot of these people during the holidays last year at Thanksgiving. They felt okay, they were asymptomatic, but they had the virus. They would go see their families, hugs and kisses, and they would spread the virus. And we had that huge surge, you recall, the first part of the year. But now in California has the lowest rate of infection per 100,000 people in the country. Because people, especially I know in the Bay Area, people are very serious about wearing the mask, doing what you have to do, and stopping the spread of the disease. And unfortunately, for 570,000 of our fellow Americans, they're not here because of the virus.
Now, what is the purpose of the reluctance of the 41%, I call them 41%, of the folks who refuse to wear the mask? Where are they coming from intellectually? What are they just following blindly the leaders? And some of these leaders have crossed over. Even Trump is endorsing the mask at this point. But where did that come? And the black community? Why is the black community so dead set against this? Why is
that's a good question. I don't have an answer for that. I don't understand it. I just don't understand it. I know that a lot of the people in the red states, for whatever reason, are opposed to it. They had a piece on TV where they went to a small town in Oklahoma in some restaurant, and the reporter asked, "Are you going to get vaccinated?" Virtually everyone in the restaurant, with the exception of one person, said no vaccines. They were not going to do it. So I don't know. And they asked them why, and they said, "We don't trust the government." So
okay, if enough people don't get vaccinated, are we going to have to eventually rely on herd immunity? And what does that entail? Will there be thousands more deaths as the result of it? Or
yeah, probably, because if you're talking about herd immunity, and we have 80% of the people who have been vaccinated, 20% of 330 million people, 66 million people who haven't been vaccinated, that's a lot of people. And that there's a lot of hosts that can be attacked by the virus, and a lot of deaths can still occur. I think we're down to 700-800 deaths a day, which is still a lot of people. And of course,
it's how they put the information out. It was 1,000 deaths a day. Now it's down, and people are going, "Isn't this good? Isn't this nice?" 800, 700. These are people still dying, and again, still refusing to protect themselves, and it just amazes me. A lot of it is natural selection. I guess the people that survive are the ones that go on, and that's the way it's been in society for a long time. I thought of something. 40 years from now, the average population of California, of New York, the IQ will have increased, because the IQ will be based on the survivors.
Absolutely.
And but it's a tough price to pay, upwards of 500,000 people dead. If you would have said when all this started that there would be that many deaths. It would have been like writing fiction. It would have been unbelievable. It would not have sold if it were a novel. Crazy times.
If you look at history, the last pandemic that we had that was anything like this was the 1918 Spanish flu that raged for 3 years and took something like 675,000 Americans. And I don't know how many people worldwide. There were a tremendous amount. Of course, we didn't have the ventilators and the stuff that they have now. The chemotherapy that they have now to help stop it. And but as that as a guide, it just showed you how rapidly the virus could spread. What really bothered me, I approved the swift lockdown in many states to stop the spread of the virus. I couldn't understand why there were Republican governors in states like Florida and Georgia and Alabama and Texas and Tennessee or whatever in the Bible Belt. All these guys are saying, you don't need a mask, go about your business, we're not going to shut down. And how many people died as a result of that? I couldn't understand it. And in California, we shut down and we loosened up a bit, but then it surged and we shut down again. And of course, I think we've been very good getting the vaccine to everybody. And of course, now we have the slowest rate of infection in the country. It's not over, but it's slowed down.
Well, we've got enough vaccines. We just don't have enough arms to put the needles in. And to the point where we're exporting vaccines, like we should be, to other countries in the world. And that part has gone remarkably well. The education to folks to show them that it's in their best interest and they wouldn't be breaking any conservative rules by doing it. And you'll still be able to be a Republican. You'll still be able to screw up the country, but not in that way. You have to find another way to do it.
What the governor in West Virginia is doing, he's offering a $100 bond for teenagers who are 16, young people. He's offering a $100 bond to go get vaccinated. That's a very good incentive.
Absolutely, it is. That is a great idea.
Yeah.
And you think, well, in a way, it's selfish for the state, but someday somebody's going to get the bright idea to sue the states for damages to this. If they opened early and you can prove that you got COVID because they opened early, and there's going to be financial ramifications, which is basically all people respond to, is the money.
Giving them the money and is better than offering them 2 tickets to Disneyland, but maybe 2 tickets to Disneyland would be more attractive than money. I don't know, but it's something. It's an incentive to do it. And people
I'm reminded of the Norm Macdonald joke where he says there was a town that offered, it's Walnut Creek, California. I remember the joke. They offered free therapy for anybody turning in a gun. You could get free therapy. If you don't turn in your gun, you could get free anything. Norm Macdonald, ladies and gentlemen, Saturday Night Live, way back when.
Yeah,
Jerry,
I think Norm is a conservative too. He's not a flaming liberal.
No, he's not. But he's changed his mind on a lot of things over the years. He is the most underrated comic in the whole world. he is absolutely a genius, and he's special. Norm Macdonald is. Jerry, when you grew up, give you a little segue. Who did you listen to? Comedy records. Who was your favorite comedian?
Oh, growing up, I loved the Jack Benny show. I loved Jack Benny with Rochester. I listened to him on the radio
and Dennis Day.
Dennis Day,
singing sidekick.
Rochester, Don Wilson, and my other favorite radio comedian was Fred Allen. Fred Allen was very sharp, very, very sharp, and he had Mrs. Newsbaum. Remember Allen's Alley, Senator Claghorn, Titus Moody, and all these characters on his show, and it was very, 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 very funny. And
what was the feud with Jack Benny? Fred Allen.
They were good friends. It was just made up for a little controversy to spike the ratings a little bit. But Fred Allen had one of the greatest observations that I have ever heard. Fred Allen did not like television. You know, he did well on radio, but he didn't like television. And he said, radio is the theater of the mind. Television is the theater of the mindless. Because in radio you have to visualize everything. And everyone's visions would be different. And people would say, what does Benny look like? What does Jack Benny look like? We wouldn't know unless it was a picture in the newspaper or he was in a movie. And so you visualized Jack Benny and Mary Livingston and Rochester. You all had your own vision of the way these people looked. And when you saw them on TV, you knew what they looked. But in TV, you didn't have to use your mind to visualize what was happening. And we had programs on the radio like Fibber McGee and Molly, The Life of Riley, Duffy's Tavern, Gangbusters.
The Lone Rangers.
The Lone Rangers, Inner Sanctum. And you remembered these programs because you visualized your mind to see what was going on. When everything is laid out in front of you, it's totally different. Comedy became different. Everything was different. So you used your imagination, I think, more when I was a kid. And of course, I used to read a lot. And when you read, you use your imagination to visualize how the author is describing the scene, and you try and visualize what. If I was reading Last of the Mohicans, I would visualize what they were describing. So it was just an interesting time to grow up, a little bit different. I know the kids of the world today can't visualize not having a cell phone or a computer. We didn't have TV until 1948, 47, 48. And it was totally different. So I was commenting to Isla when I was watching the A's game on my computer today, and I was telling her back when we were kids, if you had a 7 or 12-inch TV, it was black and white, small screen. You had to have either rabbit ears or an outdoor antenna. And now you don't need any of that stuff. You have a computer, and it's streamed in living color. And the pictures are so great. It's unbelievable, all the transformation in the last 50, 60, 70 years. It's unreal. And, of course, I going back to my father, when my father was born, the year after my father was born, Kitty Hawk took place in 1903. So, and from 1903 until he passed away in 1907, they saw all the transformations in travel, going from propeller planes to jet planes to rockets. Just unbelievable accomplishments in the world of science.
Yes, absolutely. Speaking of science, I'm going to ask you a question as a pharmacist. What do you attribute your amazing memory, and the folks that you're well over 80, you're 81, 82 at this point. People would not, I identified that age because people would not know it from listening to you. You have it all, and that is all of our goals, is to live keeping our bag of marbles intact, our seichel. What do you contribute your being able to do that through your rich life?
Living a good life. I really don't know. It's good luck. Life is a crapshoot. You don't know what's happening. I'm very fortunate to have a good memory. I read a lot when I was a kid. Things stuck in my brain for whatever reason. And now I never drank a lot of alcohol over my life. The alcohol industry would have gone broke if they depended on me. I stopped. I did smoke cigarettes for a while, from about 18, the age of 17, 18 until about 23, 24. But I stopped smoking cigarettes a long time ago. I never did drugs. So, as for diet, I have a sweet tooth, which is probably my downfall. I like ice cream too much, but I don't eat a lot of red meat. I do like steak occasionally, but just occasionally. I like a burger occasionally. Don't overdo it. And try and do a little exercise. Try and do a walking. Walking is a little tougher now because of my back surgery a few years ago, but I do the best I can. And that's my answer. I don't know. Just lucky.
Okay. I couldn't think of a better person to ask those questions to, because you still got it all, Jerry.
Still going strong. I'm just very fortunate. And one of the things I'll ask me, why do you do the sports? And I said, keeps my mind active. If I didn't do the sports, you'd have to do something, and I'm not going to do pharmacy anymore. I can't. Although my brain is still active, I'm not going to stand up on my feet for 8 or 10 hours because it's not going to happen because of my back surgery. But doing the sports gives me something to look forward to. Just doing the podcast gives me something to look forward to. Talking with you, one of my favorite segments that you've been doing on the show is talking about baseball when you're 12 years old. The innocence of baseball.
You participated in one of those. It was great. It was great. Loving baseball when we were 12 and innocent. And it puts people back into an age where they were indeed innocent, and we're afraid to be that way now. It's a guarded, cynical world, and I've been enjoying that immensely, doing that and meeting people through that venue. It's been great. Jerry, you're a treasure. As a friend, as a fellow podcaster, as one of the glues to the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. So I thank you, and I thank you.
Well, I enjoy doing the podcast with you, and I especially love going to Nations when I'm up in Alameda.
All right. We will do that in... How about this? We'll do that in what I estimate to be about 3 weeks.
Well, yeah, after 3 weeks when you get your shot, your second shot, you're going to be fine. You're about 95% covered, and then the last 5% takes place in the last 2 weeks, and you're 100% inoculated. And now my little puppy is looking at me like he has to go outside and take care of some business. So
okay. I won't ask about the business, and the pup won't ask about my business. How about that?
Sure. There you go.
All right. Be well.
Take care.
Best to Isla, and stay healthy, Jerry.
Thank you. Great being with you.
Happy trails, everybody, and thank you for listening Jerry Feitelberg, Pharmacist of the Year in California in the year 1995. Wow, and that's saying something. We'll talk about what that led up to that in another episode. Thanks, Jerry. Talk to you in a few weeks.
Bye-bye.
Adios, everybody. Happy trails.
The proceeding has been a Comfortably Zoned network production. You are advised to keep your dreams wet, your humor dry, your children and grandchildren out of military recruiting offices and off the laps of clerics who wear dresses. Thank you for listening, everyone. Happy trails.